it's a strange day to ask that question.
Huh? Maybe you stayed up late, and maybe you're just waking up to it. I don't know. There's not a lot on the agenda today. There's probably some other stuff we should talk about. I'll wait another minute or two to see if more people file in and want to add things. So let me start in next 60 seconds or so. Let's see. Carolyn, are you ready to present your WASM extension dashboard?
Yes. You need to stop presenting, then I could present, or?
Yep, that's fine. I just want to know if you're ready.
Yeah, I have prepared. So like in 1.8, we introduced the ACO WASM extension dashboard, which will have a collection of WASM related metrics. We gather them into the dashboard in the charts, which is basically the dashboard looks like this. In the first section, we have the WASM active and created. And then we have the WASM module remote load, which has cache entry and cache visits, which we track the cache hits, misses, and negative hits. And the third chart is the remote fetch, which is corresponding to the remote fetch failures and successes. And the last section, we present some the proxy, memory, and CPU usage. So those charts are corresponding to each of the existing WASM matrix we have right now. Yeah, it basically looks like this. This is the status for 1.8. And in the future, we might need to upgrade it to the ACO data point dashboard, which I think John maybe have some similar work, which is going on, like in this issue. Yeah. So this is what I want to present. Is there any other questions or anything we want to discuss?
Daniel or Peter, anyone that has done a lot of playing around with and development work with WASM extensions, does this look like something that would be useful and helpful for you?
Yeah, I reviewed the PR. I think it will be a useful dashboard as well as a good start point. I mean, whatever new metrics we come up, we can just add it here. So I think this looks great to me.
I agree. I think this is really cool. I think I'm gonna try and include this in our Maestro because we're using the remote load a lot, and so to actually distribute the extensions. So having a dashboard to see failures and stuff like that would be very interesting.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carolyn. I guess that's a good transition. Daniel, did you want to present or walk through the Simplified Extensions API here as the first pass, or did you just want people to take some time this week and look through it?
I can walk you through real quick. Yeah, it's just I just want people to review it exactly. Let me see. Where is the present button? A window. Oh no, entire screen. Okay, did this work?
I don't see you yet.
That's strange. Okay.
Would you like me to present it?
Yeah, maybe you do it. I think Google Meet is acting up in Firefox again. I have to use Chrome when I present.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just let me know when you'd like me to scroll and all of that good stuff.
Right, sure. Yeah, so I just tried to, based on our discussion last time, I just tried to keep this doc to the parts that I think are crucial to get right first. So in the objective, I'm describing a bit what it's about. So it's really about the user-facing API and a design for packaging format. So what I'm not touching upon is the distribution of filters, because there has been quite some work by other people looking into that, first of all, but also I think it's not necessarily, so for me, it's an implementation detail that doesn't really matter as much to how the API should be designed, in my opinion. So right now, I'm actually not mentioning it at all. I kept it in there, up there, just in case it comes up and I have some requirement that actually touches upon it. But I didn't find anything, to be honest. So if you look at the requirements part, it's really the interesting part. I tried to write down what I think are the requirements for an API. So how users will actually use extensions, what they see, the part that they have to touch. So as I said last time, my opinion is that it should be its own CRD, that should be a first-class API instead of Envoy filter, because Envoy filter is this low-level thing where you can actually dig into Envoy config and change low-level things that are generated by SUD. So you have to be an expert to actually get that right, and you can break things. And I think extensions should be available to normal users as well, and people who just get started with Istio, because it can actually show them the possibilities that this gives them. You know, there's so many things you can actually do by using WASM filters that I don't think we should hide it in this power user API. So I have some requirements that I wrote down for that, and I have some requirements that I came up with for a container format. So I think we should be packaging WASM extensions in containers. I'm happy to discuss if anybody has a better idea. I just think that it solves a lot of problems right away, because the distribution mechanisms, as in publishing them, push and pull, is a solved problem. Building these images is a solved problem. People know how to handle them. People understand the references, so the URLs that reference container images it's a well-known thing, because everything is based on containers. Especially if you get to the point where you're using Istio, then you know how to use a container. So I think it's a natural fit, really. So the only question for me is, what does the format look like? So I tried to come up with some requirements there. I'm also discussing the Solo IO format further down in alternatives considered. So I didn't include the design section yet, because I wanted the discussion to focus on the requirements first. And I had bad experiences in the past with coming up with designs, because people then just look at the design without talking about what it's supposed to achieve. I have a paragraph here about Solo's packaging format, which I think needs some work. And I already spoke to Solo about it, and they didn't really understand what my problem with it was. So I'm keeping that conversation going. I'm hoping I can get them to understand that a more standards compliant format would help everyone. And I think ideally we should agree with them on a format, so that we don't have multiple standards in the ecosystem. And yeah, that's about it, actually. Just have a look, check out the requirements, and if you have any ideas or comments, please leave them there, and then we can go from there.
Awesome. Are there any questions anyone wants to ask today while we're all here, or?
So I'm wondering why container format would affect the extension API, like what the API looks like? Is it like, yeah, I don't see the connection there. To me, it's just a
well,
URL. Yeah.
Right,
Go
it's a
ahead.
URL, right. I mean, you could say the format has to be, but so the format basically defines how publishing of an extension works, right? So if you say the format is a tarball and in the API you have a URL and it has to point to an HTTP server, then somehow you have a connection there between the API and the format. Although it's just a URL, right? We could say we're not touching upon that. It's just a URL, but there's other things. So, for example, I wanted something that's the fourth requirement for a container format: the ability to set vendor-defined defaults. Phase is a bad word. It's actually from another. So this is filter class. So what I would like to see is that wait, where's the doc? Oh, here. What I would like to see is that developers of an extension can actually pre-fill some of those fields, so you don't have to as a user. So, for example, filter class is basically predefined for an extension, right? So if you're writing something that authorizes against an authorization server, you know the filter class is going to be authorization. At the same time, I would want a user to be able to overwrite that, though, if they have the requirement in their environment to execute it before that or after that.
Okay.
So that's the kind of the points where I see interconnections. It's not super interdependent, I agree, but there's small points where I think they have to match.
Okay. Okay. So basically, it is possible that container format might wrap some default settings in it, which
Right.
Okay, I see. And the other question I have, or maybe suggestion I have, is that recently, we add a support for external RC customization with authorization policy. So that might be helpful to for this design. I mean, like that API goes through lots of iteration. So and eventually it settles down on, I think, reference the mesh config for the extension for external RC configuration, filter configuration. So I think that like this new simplified extension API might follow the same path. So I would suggest that to look at that design. I'm not sure whether you are aware of that or not.
I think I've seen it, but if you have a link, I would be glad to look at it.
Yeah, I can comment on this doc.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, anything else that we want to discuss, or shall we move on? Okay. I think, Peter, it's over to you then.
Yeah, so it's going to be very quick. So this is our RFC basically to remove angle filter, based telemetry configuration, and move them to E2D, basically programmatically implement all those telemetry filters we have. The goal being that since we are going to introduce telemetry API, and that means that we cannot use angle filter to configure, say, promiscuous stator filter anymore. We need to implement them in E2D. So this RFC is like a step, like it's a prep work for the telemetry API implementation. And also we have several other filters which does not need to be doesn't have to be configured via Angular filter as well, we can move them to estudy in the in the same time, like HTTP meta exchange and TCP meta exchange. They don't need any configuration so far, so it's pretty safe to move them to estudy. And the benefit of this is that we don't obviously no Angular filter in installation is a great plus point, because Angular filter is always a friction, and it's like not it's a low-level API that is not user-friendly, and also like I said, it's going to help the telemetry API implementation. Yeah, so I'm just trying to gather some feedback whether there's any objection to the for this move, or if there's any concerns. Basically, the only concern I see is that we need to maintain backward compatibility for the installation options. If you scroll down, this is currently telemetry installation options. The only part that is not modeled by the telemetry API are the WASM enablement, and that could, the proposed in this doc is to make them an environment variable, since like the current WASM enablement is mostly for demo purpose or experiment or like development purpose. I don't see much report that, or I don't see people users starting to use WASM telemetry V2 filters in production. So I think an environment variable is appropriate for this or for these options. So yeah, that is the only catch I see in the installation options. Other than that, I think we can achieve parity with Telemetry API. Yeah. So yeah, that is basically about this proposal. Please take a look and let me know if you have any concerns. If you don't, if that looks good, I think we can start implementation. And so that with Telemetry API lands, we can integrate with that.
Yeah, I guess for metadata exchange, we definitely don't have anything in the telemetry API about metadata exchange.
Yeah. And we don't have any configuration in installation option either. So if user want to customize it, they have to use Angular filter currently anyway. So
yeah. I was just gonna say. Oh, go ahead, Doug. No. Go ahead, please, John.
Yeah, I was wondering. This I think makes total sense if we're doing the telemetry API, which I hope happens, and I hope happens in 1.9. But what does it make sense to ship this without the telemetry API? Like if we're not going to ship the telemetry API in 1.9, would we still ship this in 1.9? Because it seems like then we'd have kind of two migrations.
If we don't ship telemetry API, then we need to like keep promises and state driver configured with Angular filter. But for other part like metadata exchange or TCP metadata exchange, there's no reason to use Angular filter anymore. I mean, this is like a intermediate state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have like two migrations of like Envoy filter to native to telemetry API. So
there won't like this is like a switch from Angular filter and telemetry. There will be no interstate. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think this looks reasonable to me. I want to read through some of the comments just to catch up on all the discussion, but I think this looks reasonable.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Peter, could you move the document into the Istio drive? Because I don't have access.
I think, didn't. Oh, okay, I will do it now, after.
Thank you.
Meeting. Sorry.
And I added an action item here that Peter. And then
Okay.
if you want to talk about the blog post, that would be
sure.
awesome.
So yeah, the next item is about WASM 1A doc. Since we want to add some doc about WebAssembly extension in 1A, basically currently I have 2 docs to add in my mind. First is a blog about the WASM extension ecosystem repo. And in that doc, we will basically advocate for that repo and also a guide about how to develop, testing, and maintain a C++ WASM extension. And basically to show the best practice that we learn from Telemetry WG filter. And yeah, that is the first doc. And the second is the basic auth WASM filter. So I have checked with security team, and they seems to be fine to. They seems to feel okay to put this in authentication section in the security category, and but they have some concern about the user perception about this filter, so they'd like to be very clear in that doc that this basic auth filter is not recommended for production usage, because for sure basic auth is not is secure enough. Also, it is not like the first class authentication API, and we don't intend to promote it to the first class authentication API. So that is going to, we need to be very clear about that in the doc. And also they like to make sure that the doc also put emphasis on, like, this is mostly about WebAssembly and the customization with WebAssembly. So if you have any like the current basic auth filter is very simple. You just do a very simple match based on path. It doesn't even provide regex-based match. And then check user password from a username password from the authorization header. And so it is highly possible that if user want to real usage of the with this filter, they need to do heavy customization. So so we need to provide steps or pointers in that doc about how to customize the basic auth filter. Yeah, so that is to prerequisite to put this doc into the security category on istio.io. I think that makes sense to me. Yeah, so I'm going to create a draft doc and share it with security team and check and make sure that they are okay with it. So that is basically that are basically the 2 docs that currently in my to-do list. So I don't know whether you guys have any thoughts on what we can add more, or any thoughts on these 2 docs that we planned for. So I have my draft doc about this plan. So I can also list it here so that if people have some comment offline, you can comment on that doc as well. So yeah, that is basically about this item. Any feedback?
I think it sounds good. I'm interested in what others think. I think this will be very useful, and hopefully it will help drive some more development.
Yeah. I think the blog post will help people to how to say like learn the best practice. I mean, currently I see the issue on istio.io's on GitHub is like most of them are because people are not cannot find the canonical way to develop a C++ extension. So lots of issue from there. So I think this blog post will how to ease user pain on that a lot. So yeah. Yeah. Any more feedback? Okay, cool. Then if there's no feedback, I would just proceed with this plan. And this doesn't have to happen by 1.8 deadline. I mean, while some by nature could happen asynchronously, I can like this can finish after 1.8 the first release of 1.8. I think that is fine, unless other people think this need to happen with 1.8.
Okay. So I don't have anything else on the agenda today. Is there anything that anyone else wants to discuss? Going once, going twice. Okay.
Wait. Hey, Doug.
Hey.
I was just, this is just a curiosity. So your RFC for all those ideas that are getting bounced around in the standard metrics RFC that you put out, I didn't know if any of that was going to be considered for 1.9, or is that looking further out?
I think when I had envisioned that was looking further out.
Okay.
I think priority-wise, we want to get a final agreement on a telemetry API and get that in before sort of taking that next step. Unless there's something, we could take it. Each of those things is meant to be sort of separable. So if there's some aspect that you think we should prioritize and push on for 1.9, I guess now would be the time to sort of have that conversation. But in my head, it was just, they were more like, oh, here's pie in the sky thinking about things we could do different. I know. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, no, I was really just asking from the perspective of like my own personal road mapping for, when that stuff may materialize. I'm not saying it has to be in 1.9. Maybe if anything starts to raise in priority from my perspective, then I would call that out, but not really right now. I mean, I certainly got excited at the idea of some of the stuff in there, for reducing potentially duplication, for reducing just the number of fields and the size requirements for Prometheus and so forth. I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I just wanted to make sure that, people didn't push it out potentially too far, because I think there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there's some stuff in there I'm energized about as well. I just worry that with the nature of this time of year, we try and push through a release cycle that might be shortened just by the number of absences of people who actually are doing the work, and all the other big changes going on. That to me, it was sort of like, yeah, let's look at this in the abstract and sort of make it more tangible, maybe in the 1.10 timeframe.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I was just curious.
Yeah. Anything else that we should discuss today while we're here, or shall we take 30 minutes of our lives back? Okay. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.